Overthinking is destroying your strength, and you don't even realize it. You think strength is about how much you can endure, but real strength begins when you stop trying to do everything, stop trying to say everything, and stop trying to think everything. Because the truth is, your mind is too loud. You wake up already lost inside your thoughts. What if this happens? What if they leave? What if I fail? You carry every possibility like a weight on your back, and you call it being responsible. But it's not responsibility, it's exhaustion. You talk too much, not out loud, but inside your head. 1,000 conversations that never happened, 1,000 arguments that never needed to. You think too much about what they think of you. You explain yourself to people who will never understand you. You overanalyze every silence, every text, every look, until your peace becomes a battlefield. That's not strength. That's self-destruction disguised as awareness. Real strength, the kind that makes you unshakable, comes from quiet. It begins the moment you stop reacting to every thought and every noise around you. It begins when you learn to say less and mean more. When you stop scattering your attention across the meaningless and focus it on what truly matters. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And this is exactly how most people live, not short of time, but short of focus. They spread themselves thin between 1,000 distractions, opinions, and desires, until they no longer belong to themselves. You see, the mind has a strange habit. It believes that thinking more means controlling more. It believes that talking more means being understood. It believes that doing more means progress. But the Stoics knew the opposite. They believed the greatest form of control is restraint. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, taught that man conquers the world by conquering himself. And that conquest doesn't happen through noise. It happens through silence. Because silence is where you meet yourself, where your thoughts can no longer lie to you. But here's the hard part. Silence is uncomfortable. It exposes everything you've been running from. When the noise fades, you start to hear the truth about your fears, your desires, your weaknesses. That's why most people avoid it. They fill every quiet moment with a screen, a song, a scroll, a distraction, anything to avoid being alone with their own mind. Yet that's exactly where growth begins. In the moments when you choose not to escape yourself, in the moments when you observe your thoughts without chasing them, when you stop explaining, stop proving, stop justifying, and just be. Real strength is not loud. It doesn't shout to be seen. It doesn't explain itself to the world. It moves in silence, and it builds in solitude. There's a story about Cleanthes, one of Zeno's students. He worked at night carrying water to support himself while studying philosophy by day. People mocked him for it. They called him foolish, weak, poor. But he said nothing. He kept working, kept studying, kept walking the path. Years later, he became the head of the Stoic school, respected not for his words, but for his discipline. That's what real strength looks like. The quiet persistence of a man who doesn't need recognition to stay consistent. You can't master your life until you master your focus. And you can't master your focus until you learn to let go of the noise. The noise in your mind, the noise in your words, the noise in your environment. Ask yourself, how many times have you lost peace because you couldn't stop overthinking? How many times have you said something you didn't mean just because you couldn't tolerate silence? How many times have you wasted hours chasing distractions only to end the day feeling empty? The Stoics believed that attention is the purest form of life. Wherever your attention goes, your energy follows. And most people spend their entire lives giving their energy to things that don't deserve it. You don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need to think about what might happen tomorrow. You just need to do the thing in front of you, with calm, with presence, with purpose. Musonius Rufus once said, "Practice in little things first, for they lead to greater." That's how you build focus, not by waiting for big moments, but by mastering the small ones. When you eat, just eat. When you work, just work. When you listen, truly listen. The man who can give his full attention to one thing can master anything. You think you need more motivation, but what you really need is less distraction, because motivation fades, but focus, once trained, becomes power. The strongest men aren't the ones who never feel doubt. They're the ones who act in spite of it. They don't waste time overthinking, because they understand that thought is only useful when it serves action. They think less, because they know that not every thought deserves their energy. They talk less, because they know words lose power when used carelessly. And they focus more, because they know the mind becomes sharp only when it's quiet. The modern world won't tell you this. Your peace is rare, your silence is power, and your focus is gold. That's why everyone tries to steal it. They sell you distractions and call it entertainment. Flood your mind with noise and call it connection, until you become addicted to the chaos that keeps you weak. But the Stoic path is different. It isn't about being cold or detached. It's about staying calm in a world that never stops shouting. It's about choosing to be unmoved by what doesn't matter. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, stop talking about what you'll do and start doing it. Stop explaining yourself to people who will never understand your vision. Be comfortable with silence, with being underestimated, with working when no one is watching. That's where real strength is built. Not under lights and noise, but in the quiet persistence of discipline. The man who can stay calm while the world burns shows power. The one who holds his tongue when provoked shows control. And the one who can quiet his mind amid chaos shows mastery. Most of your pain doesn't come from life itself. It comes from thinking too much about it. The wise man speaks less because he listens more, and he focuses on what truly matters because he knows attention is life. Peace isn't found by chasing it. It appears when you stop feeding the chaos and start mastering yourself. Think less, talk less, focus more. That's how you become untouchable.